I'm gonna continue my astronomy talk from last time because there was some topics that I had not gotten to that I wanted to get to. I wrote some ideas down, and I'm also gonna just go off the top of my head because the ideas I have down are not enough for like an hour. All right. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing well enough, I suppose. Winnebago's kind of shit right now. I'd called in on Tuesday after our 4-day break because I was helping my dad's girlfriend and shit with a camper because I went camping last weekend on Memorial Weekend. And then I come to find out on Tuesday, the day I called in, at about 8 o'clock at night, that all production shut down. And I'm like, what the fuck? They didn't tell nobody. I got that information from Chance. They didn't tell nobody. They didn't say that we were going to be shut down. Didn't give us time to get unemployment. It's kind of fucked up. They don't give a shit about anybody. But enough complaining, enough ranting about Winnebago. That has nothing to do with astronomy. But I guess we'll open this little magic booklet here. So I guess the first thing I'll talk about is how science. I kind of talked about this in the other episode, but I'm going to elaborate on it because I feel like I didn't talk about it enough. But science is just another religion. Like, we have these instruments, these technological instruments, these facts that we believe, not everybody, but some people believe wholeheartedly. I used to believe that everything science pushed out was 100% fact, and there's no arguing with it because I thought it was just you get data and you have these. It's the scientific process. You gather data, or you have a theory, you gather data for that theory or hypothesis, and then you prove it, and done. That's it. It's proven. It's 100% true. But the thing is, not only is there a lot of leeway in between gathering those facts and those theories and all the other shit in the scientific process, it's not the scientific process itself that makes it another religion. It's the people in it, because the scientific process is supposed to be objective and it is supposed to gather the facts objectively in a way that it may or may not disprove or improve, I should say, the theory or hypothesis or other theories and hypotheses. Maybe it latches on to other things that we've discovered or been proven by science. But the problem with that is humans are doing the scientific process, and us humans like to confirm our own biases and have our own ideas and make ourselves look good. Ego comes into science a lot, and it becomes a problem. It's like a priest that thinks he's the only one who can talk to God. And that's kind of how scientists get. They start to believe, oh, I'm this hot shot because I got PhDs and I can do all this stuff and da 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 da. And that's where science starts to fall apart, because you're supposed to completely get rid of yourself within the science. And you're supposed to let the scientific process do its own thing. But unfortunately, a lot of our scientists don't do that. It's like politicians. It's like any other occupation. There's good people in it. There's bad people in it. Police, there's good people. There's bad people. And unfortunately, the scientific process is what we need to prove theories and things. And nobody else can do it yet. I mean, once AI gets efficient enough to where it can do it itself, that might be a problem for us, one. But two, it will be objective, and it will be a lot better, I think, because we have these certain filters in our brain, we have these certain instincts, and problems that we need to overcome as species, and that's what drove us to this point, was the problems that we faced and ways we could overcome it. And unfortunately, our genes and our biology get in the way of an objective scientific process. And another problem with science is that it tries to push religion itself away as bullshit and spirituality is bullshit, which it's not. I don't think, at least in my opinion. I don't know what you believe, but I think that it needs to be intermingled. Like I was saying before, science and religion, I think psychedelics are the bridge, because you got a scientific thing, which is a chemical that interacts with our physical biology, and that leads us to have spiritual experiences. And I'm not the only one who thinks this way. I've gotten this idea from reading and listening to other people talk about this shit. But that would be a bridge between science and religion. And I don't see why we shouldn't have a bridge between science and religion, because religion holds something that science doesn't, and vice versa. Science holds things that religion does not. Religion is based on faith and feeling and spiritual awakening and essence and shit like that, while science is trying to be based on hard proven fact and objective thinking from the physical realm. And those two definitely need to be tied in together, because you can't have one without the other. Science is basically another religion in the sense that, as well, that it usually starts with a feeling. Like, oh, I feel like this tree is made of wood, just like this house is made out of wood. And then you cut down the tree, maybe, and you cut down or you deconstruct the house. You take in the samples into the lab. You look at it under a microscope and do some material testing. Oh, okay. My feeling is confirmed. These two are made out of wood. That's just an example, obviously. But the scientific process itself and religion itself isn't bad. I used to look at science as this holy being. I believed it like a religion myself, that everything they push out is wrong, or not wrong, my bad, but everything they push out is correct, and everything religion does is wrong. And I looked at religion as just pure bullshit. But another problem with science is that, which our biology gets in the way of as well, is that the things that mainstream science and the mainstream media and all this other shit want to push out is what they push out. If it deconstructs something that we've believed for a long time, or it looks like bullshit, but basically it's something, if it seems outlandish, science will just completely disregard it. Like Graham Hancock's theory I talked about before, that there was an ancient civilization that got wiped out, and now we're just a species with amnesia that forgot their past. The reason that theory isn't mainstream is because mainstream archaeologists and scientists and astronomers do not want to confirm that theory, because we've been getting taught this narrative for so long that if they were to throw that narrative out, everything that we learned in school, probably not everything, but most of the things we learned in school and the generations before us learned in school would be complete bullshit. It's kind of like in politics when we have these old ass senators and congressmen that don't get pushed out, and they just die in office, and that's why nothing gets done, is because these old people who have these rigid ideas and can't have enough neuroplasticity to develop new ideas and change from what they've believed for so long, are still in these positions of power. And it takes not my generation specifically, but the new generations to change that narrative and paradigm, because we still have enough neuroplasticity, and with substances like psychedelics and MDMA and marijuana and even alcohol, nicotine, they can give us the ability to, obviously they need to be regulated and given to responsible grown people. Not every grown person is responsible enough to manage these substances or even manage their own mind. That's why we have so much addiction and problems as a society, is because, in my opinion, a lot of grown adults act like children. You, as a kid, you are in this state where everything is about you. You're so self-centered because that's how you develop an identity. But some people never lose that self-centered ideology, even when they have kids themselves. This is my kid. I developed this person. I want them to be like me. You're just trying to throw your ego onto this other being, which they're supposed to be developing their own personality and their own way of being. And a lot of people don't give up that self-centered ideology, or not ideologies, but egotistical thought process, in the sense that everything's about them. If it's not about them, they tend to not care. And a lot of people are stuck in that mindset, which is terrible for us as a species and us as a society, which society kind of makes it that way as well, because, like I've said in previous podcasts, it looks like everything we do is for ourselves, our family, and our friends and people around us. But it's not that way at all, because let's give me going to weld through Winnebago, for example. Most people look at it as, I'm going to work for money so I can pay for my family's needs and welfare. But the way I look at it is, I'm going to Winnebago to develop myself to help society as a whole, whether that be building Winnebagos for people who want or need them, or developing a skill set so that later down the line I can help people in a different way. That's why I learn so much and why I try to develop my mind, body, and spirit, so I am ready to help people in any way possible and give them what they need, whatever that may be. Problem is, not the same way that thought process of everything's about me hinders society and everything else that I've said before, is that when you try to help people, most people don't listen. That's why I gave up trying to help people directly and do this now, because I could tell somebody I really care about. It's kind of like religion, actually, in the sense that people who are super religious want to go and help people and save them from damnation. And that's what I try to do. I mean, I don't look at it as that way, but you could look at it as that way. I'm trying to save people from themselves, because our brains are these powerful machines they will control us if we don't control them. But most people don't listen. They're so self-centered and so stuck in their own way of thinking that they don't want to have a new thought process. Or most people, here's another example, depression. Why do people make it so hard for themselves to leave a state of depression? Well, if you've been in that depressive state for so long and you take that away from somebody, that's their identity. They listen to sad music. They're sad all the time. They talk about being sad. All these things. You take that away from them, who are they anymore? They don't know, because that was their identity for so long. You're taking away somebody's identity, just like people look at ideas as pieces of themselves, which they're not. I heard a thing that animals like bunnies have many offspring so that they can teach these offspring certain things to progress and adapt through future generations. And the reason that humans don't have that many offspring is because we can think and let our ideas die. But most people don't do that anymore. That's why we have such trouble adapting. But we're supposed to be letting our ideas die so that we don't have to, and then we could pass the best ideas down to future generations, and then they can do the same thing. And that's how we've gotten here, is letting shitty ideas die, passing the good ones down to next generations, and then those next generations let their shitty ideas die and pass them down to next generation. And that's how we've gotten to where we've gotten. And why is this person driving so slow? That's weird. But yeah, and that's how science is religion. And that was my main point, I suppose. Let's open the book of knowledge again. I want to talk about the multiverse and other dimensions, which I kind of skimmed over in the past podcast. I'm rolling up my windows a little bit. There's weird people again. But so the multiverse is wild because not only is it infinite, and there could be infinite possibilities and variations of us right now, me doing the same thing or doing different ideas simultaneously in the multiverse. But there could be different variations of us, such as me as a raccoon, or me as a bug, or me as, I don't even know. There's so many possibilities that our mind can't perceive that many variations. Our mind is developed to help us survive in this specific way of being. But there's so many ways of being that our mind can't comprehend that. And I was thinking about this weekend, what if our brain is like a regular computer, it's a biological computer, right? What if other intelligent species, you get to a certain point where your mind becomes like a quantum computer? You could see every possibility, every variation, everything, basically, in one thought process, in one being, in one brain. That is insane. I don't know if that's how it works, or if that is a possibility, or if that's, I don't know. But that would be fucking insane, because like I said before, we have certain filters, certain biological filters, so that our brain can survive. And that's why our psychedelics work the way they do, is it's taking these filters off so you can see reality for what it is. But the thing is, you're still seeing it through a human being's perception. And what if we could see it through a bug's perception, or a bird's perception, or an ant's perception, or a dog's perception? That would be insane. We can't. We know that other species are intelligent, like chimps and dogs, and not as intelligent as us, obviously. Maybe more intelligent than us. We have no idea because we can't live as them. Like dolphins and orcas, they're definitely something. They might be more intelligent than we are. I mean, I'd go out on a limb and say they are more intelligent than we are, but I don't have the scientific evidence or experience to prove that. But the ability to see through the multiverse, see every possibility. I also heard a theory, or I mean, I guess it's not a theory, but it's a hypothesis. Theory is something that is tested and proven with facts. A hypothesis, something that can't be proven. I'm trying to remember the exact definition. A hypothesis is something that is speculative but cannot yet be proven. So it's a hypothesis, but oh, what was I thinking about? Oh yeah, the hypothesis I've heard before is that maybe our dreams, because your dreams are wild, they could be a subconscious version. I mean, not version, but subconscious thinking coming out at night. Things that you suppress or push down, don't want to think about, coming up and forcing you to think about it while your brain's down. Or another hypothesis is that it could be the multiverse, and our brains are traveling through the multiverse, and that's why you're seeing these different versions of yourself. And I don't think it's too out there to believe or speculate on, because who's to say that when we go to bed every night, we wake up the same person? There's no proof that we do. I mean, you could go to bed and could wake up in a whole other universe that is close enough to our old universe that we don't think anything of it. But most people don't think like that. Most people, I go to bed, I wake up, and I'm still me. But you're not you every day. Even in waking consciousness, you're a little different. Maybe you're more tired. Maybe you're a little angrier today. Maybe you're a little sad today. Maybe you didn't eat as well last night, so you feel like shit. We're constantly changing. And who's to say that when we go to bed, we wake up the same person? I mean, there's no proof to prove that. I mean, I don't know why people even begin to believe that. I mean, we could wake up in such a different universe than our own. Maybe that's why crazy shit happens every day, because I don't know if it's our minds or it's just whatever we speculate as God or the goddess or the divine spirit or what it is, but maybe it's slowly drifting us in a direction, and we would never know it, because I feel like the way I see myself is just this dumbass monkey with a semi-advanced brain being pushed around by some higher being, by ideas and actions sometimes, and things that I do not control, because we think we have control, but in reality we don't have much control over what goes on in our own lives and our own thought processes, because if we controlled our own thought processes, we would not have a lot of the thoughts we have. We have thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of thoughts. Probably, I don't know, hundreds of thousands seems a lot. Maybe tens of thousands of thoughts each day. Somebody like Elon Musk is constantly having different thoughts about different things simultaneously. And if we could control that, we probably wouldn't think like that, because a lot of our thoughts run what we do. And a lot of people are run by thoughts. But we think we have control over them, but we really don't. That's just food for thought. Another thing I said I want to talk about was other dimensions. On top of the multiverse being in existence, we have dimensions. Nobody knows how many dimensions we have. We know there's a fourth dimension, but we can't see into it because we're third dimensional beings. We see three-dimensional objects. But who's to say that there's not one-dimensional beings or two-dimensional beings? If we're able to exist on this third dimension, and so are a bunch of other species that we see every day, panda bears and all these other animals and plants and all this shit, who is to say that there's not there is a fourth dimension? Who's to say there's not a fourth dimensional being, or a fifth dimensional being, or a sixth dimensional being? We can't even perceive that in our brain. If we went to the second dimension, it's like a piece of paper. We'd be flat. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we can... Let me think. So, I think... Oh yeah, I think the first dimension is just a dot. Second dimension is just a line. Third dimension is like a box, I would assume. Fourth dimension, I've watched a video of it. It's like a box within a box. It's hard to understand in our brains because we are third dimensional beings. But beyond that, we have no idea. It's like fourth dimension. If you take a cube, what can I use as reference? So say this is my wallet's a cube, right? This is a cube, and then you take this. We're gonna say this is a cube too. Maybe I can rip it into a cube. Boom. Alright, close enough. So, the fourth dimension is like this. You've got a cube within a cube, and that's all I know. I mean, I'm not going to try to pretend that I just farted. Woo. Not going to pretend I understand. Pretend to say that I understand more than I do about that, because I can't. My brain is not four-dimensional. Maybe we are. I've also heard a theory that we are nine-dimensional beings, and we forgot how to see into all those dimensions because we stopped at the third dimension. But ancient cultures and ancient civilizations could see 9 dimensions into our being. What that is, I have no idea. But it's crazy to think about. And if we are to say that we're 9-dimensional beings, who's to say that dogs or cats or other species of plants and animals and fungi aren't? Because plants can feel touch, they can hear sound, maybe they can perceive taste, who knows? We don't know how intelligent species other than our own are. But if you spend enough time with a dog or cat, you can tell that they can feel and sense and hear and see and taste and all this other shit, things that we cannot. That's already another state of being. And to us, that's inconceivable, like the way a dog can hear. I heard that dogs can hear an owner coming home miles before he even gets home. And we can't perceive that. A dog's brain's mapped mostly for hearing and smell. And we can't perceive that to the extent that we understand what's going on in a dog's brain. And we spent so long as a species pushing down other species, calling them dumb, locking them in cages, doing tests on them, that we have no idea how intelligent they truly are. And it blows my mind that if you spend enough time with even a mouse, they're not stupid at all. I mean, chimps, dolphins, orcas, birds, you can tell that they are not dumb. So I have no idea how humans once conceived them as stupid and did what they did to them. And we still do that to this day. We lock orcas in tiny swimming pools. Yeah, it's big for us, but for them, that's like a swimming pool that they're in 24/7 because they're used to swimming miles and miles a day. You take an intelligent being like a chimp or a monkey and lock them in a cage, they're in a jail. And we do that to animals all the time. And we justify it by saying we're more intelligent and they're not as intelligent. But who's to speculate that? If you watch an animal long enough, they are intelligent in a whole different way that we can't conceive. Like birds use tools. They don't use them to the extent that we use tools, but they use them. Chimps use tools, and they're intelligent. Dolphins use pufferfish to get high, just like we use other substances to get high. Who's to say that these beings aren't intelligent? The only reason we don't think they are is because they don't have thumbs to manipulate 3D space like we do. Dolphins don't need to because they can maneuver through 3D space wherever they want. They can go right or left. They can go up or down. They don't need thumbs to manipulate their environment. We do because we evolved differently. Chimps have thumbs and we still act like they're retarded. But if you watch enough chimp documentaries or get the what's it called, opportunity and luck to see them in person, which I have not. I've heard people and I've seen things. They are highly intelligent. They go to war with each other. They mourn their dead. They use tools, they groom each other as a form of communication. They have different ways of communicating with their different grunts and screeches. It's wild. And dolphins have like 7 regional languages that they use to communicate. It makes no sense to say that they are not intelligent and maybe they can perceive other dimensions that we cannot. And on top of that, maybe there are highly advanced species walking amongst us right now that just slip through dimensions. Maybe they can shapeshift themselves into other species and other dimensions, and maybe they're walking amongst us and we just would never know it because we're pretty fucking stupid and limited. Our brains are intelligent for what we have, but we're pretty limited in our capabilities. That's why we have technology, and that's why we have to continue advancing technology to perceive other things. Even with our telescopes and our microscopes and all this shit we have now, we can't perceive most of anything. Like, we don't know what dark matter is, but it's like 90 something percent of the universe. And it's weird as fuck that we think we're these intelligent species that figured most things out. Our physics are limited. That's why when Newton developed his 3 laws of motion, Einstein added on to that. He didn't just get rid of it, he added on to it. And now we need another form of physics to explain what we're going to find in the future. But I don't know if people are thinking about that. Obviously, I'm not in the top scientific circles and shit, but I'd hope that they are developing something like that. Because if they're not, they're just trying to build on what we have already. There's no wonder that we're not advancing quickly. Our technology is out advancing us because we have limited ways of thinking and being. But I think that's all I can say about that. Another thing I want to talk about is how time and space are connected. Einstein talked about this a lot, and that's where his theory of relativity comes from. Need a couple hits of the old vape here. Well, the most simple way to explain it is you need space, which is moving through 3D space, and time to move through that space. Like if I take a 5-minute walk, well, there you go. It takes me 5 minutes to walk through that 3D space. But somebody who runs, or somebody who walks faster than I can walk, is moving faster through that time and space and using less time to do it. And that, like, there's this theory or hypothesis, I suppose, because it hasn't been proven yet, that if you take 2 twins, launch one into space at light speed for a year, and bring that twin back, both babies, then one of the babies will be 66 when that baby gets back from its year at light speed. The other baby will be a year old. That just goes to show how time and space interact with each other. Not only that time is relative. I perceive time differently than other people perceive time. My perception of not just time, but space itself is based on my experience, my knowledge, and what I've gathered through this almost 20 years that I've been alive. Other people's is completely different. We all have our own worlds in our head, but we can't even really agree on basic things that we try to say are solid, because some people are colorblind. Others see colors the same, but others see more colors than other people can see. And not only that, we see our shading is different. I see yellow different from other people see yellow. Our brains are weird as fuck in the way that they work, because not everything's the same. We try to have these concrete ideas and concrete definitions of what things are, but it really doesn't work that way, because we all perceive different things. That's why it doesn't make sense to me how other dimensions and the multiverse and other things like that are inconceivable to other people, because if we're all seeing just this one dimension in this one world differently, why wouldn't there be other beings or other species or other things that could see the world differently, or see other dimensions, or see other multiverses, or other things that our human brains can't perceive? We're so stuck in this mindset that we are these intelligent beings and we run the universe, or at least that's how most people try to see it. But in reality, we really don't run anything. Like I was saying before, we have no control, but we try to control things. Like, this nicotine is just a way of control. I can hit it whenever I want. But who's to say that I am the one controlling that? Maybe something else is controlling that, and I'm just doing it out of that thing. Like my ideas. Who's to say? There's no proof that ideas come from our mind. Yet, we all look at them as us. And who's to say that we are just these dumbass monkeys following these alien beings that put things in our heads to follow these ideas? Because everything came from ideas. Like I've said before, cars, boats, planes, everything we look at as us, human beings, did this, may not be us at all. And people just see it and conceive it as us. I gotta think about this for a second. Yeah, that's about all I gotta say about that. But time and space, if I get on a plane and I try to run after this, somebody else tries to run after this plane, I see time and space, and these other people see time and space completely differently. That's why Einstein said that time is relative. And that's why he believed in wormholes, that there's 2 points in space-time that connect, and if you go through one end, you travel through to another part of the universe in less time than it would take to just go across directly. Well, I think I showed that in the other episode. You take a piece of paper, fold it across each other. I could probably do a better demonstration, actually. Let me gather some resources here. So, the best way to describe a wormhole is you got space right here. This is space. You travel through space like that. You can see that shit. Yeah. Like that. That's a direct path through space. But then there's wormholes, which allows you to travel through those 2 points directly, rather than taking that long path. And that's what a wormhole is. Rather than doing all the journeying that you need to travel through those 2 points in space, you could do it by bending space-time. And that's another thing, is if these intelligent species that are more intelligent than us have the ability to do this at will rather than finding a wormhole. They could do anything. They could travel in seconds through time and space. Maybe travel back in time. Who knows? There's so many capabilities and possibilities that we could have if we advanced our technology. Like nanotech. Nanotech, my best example of nanotech is in Avengers Infinity War when Iron Man pushes his chest and the suit just comes on him from that point and covers him in a suit of armor. Nanotech it's not just these little pieces of technology coming onto you. It is literally, what do I want to say? Manipulating atoms in a way, because everything is made from atoms. And if you can manipulate an atom, you're intentionally, not only does that create things, like you could take a car and you could turn it into something else, like a plane, but you could also time travel. Because if you could take your atoms and send them to another point in time and reconfigure them in the exact position that they are right now, you could develop time travel and teleportation and all these other things that we conceive as impossible right now. Technology is going to advance so far beyond what we can perceive right now, and it's going to seem like magic. Like I said before, if you take a phone back in time, let's say to ancient Egypt, and you show them this technology, maybe they were more advanced, like I said before, but let's just say, you know what, let's not even go back in time. Let's take a phone and bring it to a hunter-gatherer tribe living today. The things that they would think it's black magic, that you have this box that can see everything. You show them a picture of the plants that they see and the weapons that they use and all this other shit in this tiny little box. It's like magic. It's like a crystal ball to them. You could show them anything. And not only that, you can bring up any answer to any question. Is this plant poisonous? No. And then you eat it. Show them that you can eat it. They're like, whoa, this is crazy. How does this even happen? They might even kill you. They might think it's witchcraft. Our planet is insane. Not just our planet, but our universe. And the entire space that we live in. It's just mind-boggling to me. That's why we can't ever figure out anything. That's why I like to learn and why I keep talking about shit on these podcasts, because it's endless. The possibilities and the things that we can do and see and say, and it's just wild. But I'm gonna end this thing. I hope you enjoy. If you haven't subscribed and you made it this far, do that. That's all I got. Bye.